Greetings, folks. What? You laughing? My name is Greg Willits from RosaryArmy.com.
And I'm Jennifer Willits, his wife.
Glad to have you here for another program. Lots of things been going on. Saying goodbye to the summertime and hello to the fall. How in the world did the year get almost 3/4 of the way done? Is it 3/4? Or is it more?
Almost.
But it's like we started in winter and then we go into spring. So we get like winter at the beginning and the end of the year. So it's kind of weird to say that. But yeah.
It does not feel anything like fall because everyone has a heat wave right now, apparently, in
as
the United States.
As we're recording it.
I don't know. I feel like it's been going on for weeks. Like, even by the time you hear this, I would not be surprised if the heat wave was still continuing wherever you live in the United States of America.
I experienced it quite a bit. Just this past weekend, as we're recording this, I went to Kansas with our son Ben, checked him in for his junior year already of college at Benedictine College. Can't believe that the boy is already a junior. I think he really enjoys college more than he lets on. I think he enjoys, particularly when he gets to take classes that he is interested in. He's happy, but man, we had a summer with him. It's just, this year has been nuts. So
I think he's going to enjoy it a lot more because of a certain beverage.
Well, yeah, you want to go there. Now that he's 21. It's not that he drinks a lot, but he discovered Truly's.
Yeah.
Which is like, this is not sponsored by Truly's.
No, it is not.
Unless Truly's wants to sponsor this.
And then we will accept that money.
Well, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk.
I don't know. We've gotten in trouble in the past about talking about, favorite beverages years ago in the early days of the Rosary Army podcast, talking about my old favorite pale ale.
We don't need to go down that.
And then we found out that they were like sponsoring Planned Parenthood, and we didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if Truly's doing the same thing. But anyway, Ben found out he likes the margarita lime Truly's.
Yes, and that is a highly coveted flavor apparently. But I wondered, would he drink this while at college? I mean, like,
apparently the
what
answer
are
is
the
yes.
rules? But he looked into the rules, and because he's over 21. He's permitted to have it in his dorm room.
It's really funny.
He said that I'm just not allowed to, obviously I can't share any with underage minors, duh. He can't just walk around freely around the house or the campus just with a can in his hand. He can't do that. That would not be fitting. He really ought to not, give into the temptation to build a pyramid of cans,
Is that an actual rule?
Yeah. No, I don't know. He's just like, I can't like do that. That's not fitting, for the Benedictine spirituality, whatever. So, but occasionally if he wants that nice, cool treat, I think he will treat himself. And
have you ever built a can pyramid?
I'm sure like in the 70s it would have been.
You were drinking in the 70s?
I think no, it would not have been beer, but it would have been other like cans of Pepsi, Tab would have been something that would have been in my house. Remember that drink?
Yeah, I remember Tab. With the pink can.
Yeah, I thought it was like a rose colored. It's kind of a weird mauve.
Isn't that kind of the same thing?
Mauve-y rose. What did you say?
Pink.
No. It's not pink.
Pink can.
It's not pink.
Ben Barron, put up a can of Tab right now.
And then you will see that I'm right.
It's pink.
Your memory is wrong. Mine is right.
I remember it pretty well.
Pink is like Pepto-Bismol. That's what I think of pink. And that can was not anything like
it's not Pepto-Bismol pink.
Pink.
Pepto-Bismol pink is a very specific pink.
Yes.
It was still true. Mauve. I don't even know. Is a mauve like the name of an old lady on a 70s sitcom?
Maybe.
Mauve.
But mauve is a shade. It's like you're getting close to Barney purple without actually getting all the way to Barney purple.
No, I'm telling you.
You got to come back and mix a little brown in there.
I'm telling you.
So there's brown tones in the mauve category. Oh yeah, see that's
totally
closer to Barney. Okay, those who are watching us right now, you'll see me emphatically pointing.
That is pink.
I am right.
No,
toward the can on the screen.
How in the world are you right?
No,
Look
that's
at that.
pink. But that's
Tab.
That's not the original Tab. That's different. There is a difference.
Jennifer, I love you.
That's more red than pink. It doesn't matter.
My
doesn't matter. We're not going to save any souls this way, Greg.
I don't know. We might save a few souls.
Okay.
By the fact that Tab cans were pink.
Ben is safely in his dorm It was, I was really proud of you, Greg. Let me just give you some praise here. I know you were dreading this trip because you were deeply concerned you were going to get injured somewhere along the way.
I mean, if you listened a few weeks ago when I had that magical hip go out or whatever, and I was incapacitated.
It was a magical hip?
Yeah, magical hip.
And it went out? That's amazing. What is a magical hip and where does it go?
And it magically came back. Courtesy of chiropractors and muscle relaxers.
It's a good thing you had access to that. Thank you, Nurse Catherine.
But, yeah, I was worried about getting hurt because he's on the third floor, no elevator, heavy stuff, very, very narrow stairwell and very small steps. And I know it's silly, but I was concerned about, I think I got injured using the weed whacker in the backyard.
Oh, that always results in an injury.
Just using the
It's like a vibration injury. Your whole body is like
I don't know.
shaking.
The weed whacker almost took
rattles.
me down for good. You know, it was like what's a 75-pound Rubbermaid tub gonna do of me trying to carry it up the stairs? So
but we've learned a few things with Ben's experiences of moving in and out, and so thankfully you've made some improvements to streamline the process.
There's so many more important things for us to talk about. But
I know,
yes,
but there are some parents who don't know this. This is like service journalism here.
Get smaller buckets, walk more steps. That's basically what it was.
There you go. And it'll all work out great. He was happy.
We went to Walmart when we arrived in Kansas on Saturday, and he went and found basically 4 Rubbermaid tubs, smaller ones, to replace the 2 huge ones he had that were just
too big for this purpose. Yeah.
So moved all of his stuff in. It was a heat wave in Kansas. This Georgia boy who's used to heat, this was nuts, crazy heat in Kansas. Didn't even know how to. I couldn't be outside for more than a couple minutes at a time. I mean, you
felt it that
people.
Quickly.
I mean, I was looking for shade in a way I'd never looked for shade before. It was crazy hot, a really bad hot that Anyway, I don't know how to explain it. It was hot.
I'm also want to give a big shout out to Sue Soxy.
Well, I was going to say something.
Friend of the show.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you got to spend a little time at her bookshop. So what can you tell us about that?
Sue has a place in Leavenworth, a bookstore in Leavenworth, Kansas, which was nearby. And we met Sue through her brother, David, who is just awesome guy who
great supporter.
We talked
of
about it
Rosary
a couple
Army.
years ago when we went out there for the first time, that when we stopped by and had dinner at his family farmhouse out there. And David is a supporter of Rosary Army, and we've gotten to know him over the last couple of years. And so when we were out there a couple of years ago, met his sister. His sister's helped get Ben to the airport a few times, but she's got a place called Soul Supply, which is a Catholic bookstore, but it's so much more than that. And you can actually look it up, Soul Supply in Leavenworth, Kansas. And she's got just a great supply of books, and she had a lot of different things. You're actually wearing a medal. I saw that medal, and it was like
Let me see if I can get
a
it
miraculous
on the
medal
camera.
in the shape of a
Right
heart.
there. I'll put it over a darker backdrop so you can see.
If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're listening to it, sorry. It basically, imagine a silver heart with a miraculous medal in the middle of it. It's beautiful. I saw that and I was like, that's Jennifer right there. Picked up a couple books. She encouraged me to buy a book called The Golden Arrow, which I have a feeling we'll talk about more in depth at another show after I've had a chance to go through it. Ended up just visiting with her for a while and having great conversations. So thank you, Sue, for your hospitality and for helping take care of our son Ben while he's out there.
Ben bought a book.
Which
is a big deal.
He bought a novel, which was pretty amazing. That he is sometimes at a point where he wants to buy a work of fiction. Anyway, it was a good trip back to Benedictine. It was my 4th time there. I'm tired of making that trip. It's a hard trip for this
53-year-old, almost 53-year-old.
Almost 53 years. I still got a few.
I keep thinking you're 53.
No, because you are. Meanwhile, while I was there, Lily had a big event that you had to drive 2 hours yourself to get to.
Yes, she did. I think I mentioned in one of our previous shows that she started her first sport. Okay, so she's a new high school student. She's a freshman. And with that, she has to have a PE sort of requirement. And the school does not officially have a PE class. So they just encourage the students to choose a sport. Or if they don't like any of the sports that are offered at the school, then just do something at home where you are moving around. They will give you that PE credit. So she thought, cross country could be a real, good option for her. She's kind of tall for her age, and she's very lean, and she's got a naturally long stride. So I kind of felt like, this is something worth encouraging her for. So last weekend was our very first cross country meet. I have no experience with being a spectator / parent of a child in this sport, so everything was new to the both of us. So we went into it with a little bit of, nervousness, but mostly just excitement. This was the first, school competition sport. So there's like over 50 kids in cross country at our school, which is a huge turnout. So we knew that there would be some decent competition, and she would be running with a lot of experienced runners, but also a fair amount of new runners like herself. I'm very grateful I invested in a better pair of running shoes for her, because she just simply didn't have enough support. So we got that in time. She got her uniform just a few days before, and all we had to do is drive 90 minutes away to the first location for this cross-country meet. And I really didn't even know, what terrain is normal for a cross-country meet. I mean, I still think track and field in my head, because that was my only experience when I was in high school, was that kind of running inside of a school sport. But cross-country just seemed like this weird other concept of, are you just running in the woods? But what about the roots? What about the rocks? What about the trees? Are you expected to literally dodge all those natural obstacles? I mean, that just seems like injuries waiting to happen, in my opinion. So surely it can't be that bad. Well, no, it was exactly like what I thought. You really are running through the woods. Now, thankfully, the course was well prepared. They worked really hard on getting it all cleared of major dangerous obstacles like trees, but still leaving it quite a challenge. So, Greg, if you could please turn off those notifications.
I am trying. What's funny, that's actually David, who we just mentioned.
Okay.
He was the one just texting me. We literally were just talking about his sister's store.
I'll allow it.
And because I texted him while we were there, and I said, I'm currently shopping in an amazing Catholic store. And he just now was responding a few days later saying, so glad you made it there. I just saw this message, but his sister sent him a pic. Hope your trip went well. So
look at that, David. You worked your way right into the show.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well done.
Well done.
That might be one of the first. Well, not one of the first. I know, but I've read text messages that pop up in the middle of the store, or show. That's what happens.
So this cross country meet, it was more than just a race that would last 20 minutes. I mean, yeah, that was one component of it, but new runners were kind of encouraged to just run the 2-mile version of the course, and the experienced runners would have to tackle the 5K. The 5K at this particular location is probably the most physically challenging of all the cross-country meet locations for the season. So in a way, they're starting off with the hardest one, the most challenging. And so the 2-mile version of the race was actually a part of the 5K course. So it's still a very challenging 2-mile run through the woods that Lily has never done before. Ever. I mean, her only running experience has been basically on a treadmill in an air-conditioned controlled environment. And that's it. And running on a treadmill is very different from running on your own power outside, where there is no motor guiding your pace. You have to guide your pace. But I just had a good feeling that she was just going to do well. And there was just a real positive feeling in the air, all the excitement of all the families checking in. She had to get her little number and get it pinned on her little running shirt. And so she was number 67. She was kind of bummed. She wanted 73. That's her favorite number. But she got 67. And then she just got into the queue, and just seeing all the kids at the starting line was kind of cool. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was a really exciting moment. I mean, all the parents kind of caught up to the kids, and we were just waiting for the sound of the gun to go off. And then that's it. It's on. They're just going to have to start running and hope that they would not get lost, because they've never really seen the course before. Many of them have not. And so Lily was definitely dependent on someone to follow so that she wouldn't make the wrong turn and just endlessly loop in the woods and not ever hit the finish line. But when the gun went off and you see all those kids running, it's like something happened in me that I wasn't expecting. I mean, I'm already wanting to cry. I mean, cheering and screaming, because I know a lot of those other runners. I just, having been a teacher assistant in the school, I got to know them. So it's more than just Lily; it's her friends, and so I'm able to cheer for a great amount of kids. And then she looked strong, and then she just ran away. And they're like, well, I guess I better get busy and hightail it over to another part of the course where I can maybe see her again. And so I've got to not run, but walk very quickly because I want to make sure I could get there before she does. And I wasn't quite sure the path and how soon she would get to the next observation area for the parents. So we get there, and then you're just sort of like waiting with anticipation to see which would be the first runner to sort of come out of the tree line and into an open field. And you don't know if it's going to be a boy or a girl, but the boys have their own competition against the girls. So they'll be like the top 3 runners of each gender would win some kind of a medal or award.
The boys aren't racing against the girls.
No.
They're racing at the same time.
They are racing at the same time.
Yeah.
But everyone is timed, and then they just compare the stats at the end. And so we're all just kind of waiting to see who's going to come out first. And it was a boy. And we're like, yay, go, we're screaming. And then the very next kid to come out of the woods was Lily. And I was like, unless I missed it, I think she's the first female to emerge out of the woods. And this looks pretty good, but I don't know. Maybe I arrived at the observation deck late, and maybe other girls had passed and I just wouldn't have known it. But
as she was coming out, she's like grabbing the back of the hair of other girls and throwing them to the ground, elbows in the eyes, and giving the Batman back punch thing to another girl. I know that she's very competitive when it comes to this kind of stuff.
But what was really cool about this moment was seeing the look of determination on her face and knowing that she is now going to experience what I call you versus you, where you are really trying to dig deep and push yourself in a way that you didn't think you were capable of pushing yourself. And it's kind of hard to explain that to someone. It's better understood when you are learning that lesson kind of fresh and on your own. And so there are areas of that 2-mile run where she was alone. She wasn't running with anyone. So she realized she needed to dig deep. And so she told me afterwards that she was praying Hail Marys, anything to help her not give up. She really did not want to give up. And she wanted to do a good job on this first race. So it was hot. She was feeling the inclines like she'd never felt before. And then she just passed by. She didn't even really look at me. She was just looking ahead. And I just love that. It gave me a lot of memories of when you ran the marathon, actually. That was another highlight of my life, of being a spectator to someone that I love who was running and going through a big challenge. So it was really cool that I got to reenact that feeling.
So you like watching people do monumentally stupid things?
No, but challenging things. It's like a real test of endurance, And
my husband's knees will never walk or work again after today.
So then she looped around, and then she passed me again, and I'm cheering. And I wanted her to know that she was loved and supported and not to give up, and to remind her that she's looking great. But then when she ran past, she was headed to the finish line, and I could not get there. There was no way I was going to be able to have that view of her coming in for the final stretch to get her time, whatever her best record would be in terms of her pacing time. So next time I'll have to make that decision on where do I want to stand and what moment of the race do I want to cheer her on? Do I want to be at the end or do I want to be in the middle? Because I can't do both. But I knew she was in good hands and that I would catch up with her as soon as I could.
How long did it take her to run?
I think she completed the 2-mile race in 18 minutes and change. And I just can't remember the seconds. And as you know, every second matters. And you're proud of every second that you can achieve. So when I get to her, she was just drinking tons of water, but she felt great, and she's cheering on her teammates and and then we're just like all happy. She was so happy. And it was just really cool seeing her be this happy over a sport and being there with her friends. Her buddy, Margaret, the girl who went with her to that nun camp that we talked about a couple weeks ago, she came with us to cheer on her buddy, Lily, and that was super cool that she had that support. And all we had to do is kind of wait for the award ceremony. And the running times was kind of like a closely guarded secret because we didn't really know who ran at what pace and who was in the running to win. So the first, when it was time for the award ceremony, they actually got nice ribboned medals with medallions hanging on it, and it was really cool and is like a memento of this occasion. So the boys were awarded their top three placed runners got their medals first, and then the girls. So they start with third place winner, and then they announced her friend Ella, who's also been a friend in our family. She's come over several times to hang out with Lily. So she got third place. And then a new friend, a new runner to the school, she got second place. And then first place was Lily Bear. We're so proud of you, Lily. I mean, oh my goodness. It was and Lily has never won anything before. She like ran to the podium, which was basically a big giant rock. So she climbed up to the top of the rock. She got her medal, put around her neck, and then they posed for a super cute picture. And she was just beaming for the rest of the day. And then the rest of the day was just playing with her friends, having a fun barbecue, playing, swimming in the lake, doing kayaking. I mean, it was like a full-on family day adventure / retreat in this South Georgia location. And it was just a fantastic day. And I just could not have been more proud of how hard she worked. And it was like a great boost to starting something new. Now, of course, I'm warning her, like, you need to, be really good about your stretching and allowing yourself a chance to recover. These are all new concepts to this new runner of ours, our daughter, who just wants to run and just run and think that that's it. But it's really about how you nourish yourself and how you rest and how you stretch. And there's all these other components that you'll have to learn along the way. But she's very excited, I think, to be in this sport, and we're really happy for her. It was just super cool to be there. And I really hope that one of the other meets in the future that you can come and watch her run. It's a great feeling. I'm telling you, it's really fun.
I've no doubt. I just hope it's closer and not,
there are some.
You had all sorts of other things that went around it. There was like a barbecue and everything else afterwards, and it's like
that was unusual.
I don't mind going and just watching a race.
Yeah.
That sounds fine. I look forward to that. But
I think the other ones will be more like you travel, you race, and you return. That's going to be what's going to happen.
I'm all for that. I can totally handle that. Want to give a thanks to someone who signed up just recently as a patron via Patreon. Now, I know that sounds kind of weird. We haven't talked about it in a long time. At the beginning of the year, we sort of made a decision in regards to our focus is on Rosary Army and really trying to be good stewards of that apostolate that we've been blessed to be a part of for 20 plus years now. So we have not been soliciting new patrons or new co-producers over at patreon.com. But that doesn't stop some people from going over and signing up. And I just want to say thank you to Brian. He went over and signed up. Having said that, sincerely, thank you, Brian. I do mean that. We're not doing as much extra bonus stuff for the Patreon side just because we are focusing our creative efforts with Rosary Army and School of Mary and building up great content there. And so if you want to support that ministry, then we do ask you to go over to rosaryarmy.com/donate and sign up to be a monthly donor. That's preferred, or a one-time donor is fine as well, if that's all you can afford to do. But Brian, thank you for that. If at some point you want to move that patronage over to Rosary Army, that's fine. You keep it where it's at, but eventually we're probably going to stop doing the double posting over to Patreon and just kind of let that go at some point. We just hope that all of our patrons would move over to Rosary Army because we can see Rosary Army being something that's going on long after us, however many years God has in store for us for that ministry. Whereas, focusing on the Greg and Jennifer brand is not as interesting to us, quite honestly. We believe that we'll be taken care of if we take care of the nonprofit. And so that's kind of been our focus over these last few years. And so just want to say thank you to Brian, though. We haven't been saying regular, name endorphin type things for people who signed up for Patreon because, well, as I said, we've been focusing on other things. So thank you, though, Brian, sincerely for doing that. Talking about School of Mary, I'm going to assume by the time you're listening to this, it has officially launched and you can go over right now and register for free as a student at schoolofmary.com. Again, School of Mary is a ministry of Rosary Army. The main kickoff program that we've made available is our Total Consecration program. And now, depending on when you're listening to this, several feast days are coming up. October 7th is the Feast of Our Lady of the Holy Rosary. In December, there's a couple of different ones that you can focus on as well, the Immaculate Conception as well as on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe is in there. So either one of those would be days that you could shoot for consecration on. And so we have schedules and we have resources and have all sorts of other things available for you over at schoolofmary.com. We have moved our How to Pray the Rosary resources there, videos and other things, and we're going to be building it out, making it even better. How to pray the rosary, how to make the rosary, plus we have other courses and other things available to you for free. Our resource library, free downloads and other things, all available over at schoolofmary.com. We're very excited by that. And again, speaking of donors, it would not have been possible if not for all of you who have given to Rosary Army on a monthly basis and who gave to us last year during our giving campaign last Advent. You made such a huge difference in the lives of so many people because we're able to hire the people that we needed to make this happen relatively rapidly, even though I feel like I'm constantly going, everything's taking too long to happen. The fact that within a year we've built it, we've launched it, it's out there, and now it's just a matter of building the community. And that's another thing. We have community bulletin boards and forums and ways for you to communicate with other people. So we're going to be experimenting with how do we do that. And so if you've been one of our patrons, one of our co-producers who's been using Discord, move on over and join School of Mary and participate in the discussions over there. So I'm trying to figure out.
So we're going to get away from Discord too.
I think, to some extent, because I like everything in one place. We're focusing on growing you in your faith, right? And less about the Greg and Jennifer thing. It's just I've never been comfortable with that. But with Rosary Army, it has a purpose, it has a mission, and I can get behind that, and I can get excited and sort of be a little bit of a cheerleader there. So we'll be developing other communities and topics and that kind of thing, and it's a little bit of experimentation. So I also ask for your patience as we're doing all that, but it's out there. So go get it, schoolofmary.com. Please, God, because it hasn't officially launched as we're recording this, please help us to actually do that by the time people actually see this video.
Weird.
But so very excited by that. And just as we are wrapping up the summer, just a lot of other things have been happening. We got to go see a great concert a couple weeks ago, Glen Hansard, which he's an Irishman, so his language can be salty at times. But if you ever saw the movie once, did we talk about this on the show? I don't think we actually talked about it.
We never did.
That's a bucket list thing. We were supposed to see him for the first time back in 2019, and he got sick, not with COVID, but right before COVID happened, and canceled his show in Atlanta. We were going to go then. We bought tickets like right after we moved back to Georgia. So we've been waiting 4 years. Jennifer, Lily, and I went and saw his show, and he's one of my favorite performers. I don't like a lot of newer performers. Like, he's the first one who is a relatively new performer, like of the last 10, 15 years, even though he was the guitarist in the Commitments way back in 1990, so he's been around 30 years.
He's about our age. It looks like
he was born 2 months before you. He was born April of 70. So he's older than both of us, but not by much. But just, my goodness gracious, he hits me right in the heart. If you've ever, years ago we did a silly thing every once in a while where Jennifer and I would do live streams on Facebook every once in a while or on Patreon, where we would ruin your favorite songs, and we would I would play songs on the guitar and we would sing just for fun, because we do this anyway at home. We like playing music here. But we're not very good. And so I oftentimes would play Glen Hansard songs. And there were, a lot of the songs from the movie Once I would like to play. There's a song called Song of Good Hope, which I just absolutely love. Several others. But we went, and there are some songs, it's not that the words, I wrote this down in my journal, it's not that the words that he's singing impact me. It's the way he's singing that gets me. And so, like, there's this one song called When Your Mind's Made Up. And, it sounds like it's about a couple that's not doing very well, right? Which I don't have that issue. It's like our marriage is very good. I have no complaints in that regard. And so it's like, if you read the words, like, when your mind's made up, there's no use even trying. And it's like, it's like, it's just this.
We shouldn't like the song as much as we do.
But the way he sings it, I got so dang choked up. I literally had tears coming down my face when he was singing it, just because it's so powerful. The man hits some core, and Mac always makes fun of it. Mac, it's like, because he sings really, really softly and really quietly, and then all of a sudden he's yelling, but he's got such control over his voice. And it was just a wonderful concert. It was Lily's first concert.
Yeah.
And it was just a great time.
Well, I think part of what made this concert very emotional for Greg and myself is we learned, I think it was from the guys at Popple that told us about it, or do we
we shared it with them.
Okay.
They were coming through town, and the movie had just come out on DVD, and we rented it.
And what year? This is like 2000.
I'm going to guess it was 2007 is when
Okay.
2006, 2007 is when I think we first saw the movie. We rented it on Netflix. It came in the mail. And we hadn't returned it in the mail yet. And Dan and Kyle from Popple were coming through town. And we're like, you guys are musicians.
You're going to like this.
Because I had the same reaction when we watched once. The first time I heard the song Falling Slowly all the way through, and the way that they were performing it in the movie, it was so raw. I got choked up then too. There's just something about it.
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Was there was something very special about the musicianship in this film that it immediately tugged on our heartstrings upon the first viewing way back then.
2007.
So since 2007, we have been steadily listening to this soundtrack for a very long time, for over 14, close to 15 years.
And then the other albums as well. I mean, I started listening to all of other Glen Hansard's songs. When you bought me painting stuff in Colorado, and I'd be down in the basement, and I was still listening to, like, Pandora was still new.
Yes.
I would just type in Glen Hansard, and it just kept giving me all of these different songs of his, and just became a huge fan.
And so because this artist, Glen Hansard, is such an emotional singer, he sings from his soul, and it's so obvious that that's what we're reacting to. It was like a dream of ours to actually hear him perform live. Like, we were kind of a little fed up with only enjoying this just through a digital representation, through a CD or your car stereo. Like, we were happy with what we had, but we knew if we can somehow hear him live, that would just really be the icing on the musical cake. And every time we tried, it just failed. So finally hearing this song that meant so much to us for so long, but to hear it live was just like, it was just amazing. And Lily got completely swept away by the beauty of everything and how music can really lift you up. And that's from God. I mean, God implants that in our soul. There's a reason why we sing. There's a reason why music is encouraged in our liturgies, because when done right and from the right place, it lifts you up. And so we were reacting to that, and it's like, so you can't help but feel it. And everyone in the audience was feeling it. And it attracts the most bizarre of people. Like, part of the fun of going to the show is to see who would show up to watch Glen Hansard, because whenever we tell people that, we listen to Glen Hansard, they're like, who's Glen Hansard? Nobody knows who the guy is.
Yeah, Lily was trying to explain it to her friends.
She's like,
and her friends were like, I have no idea who you're talking about, Lily.
Like, all they know is Taylor Swift and all those artists, like Glen Hansard, it was really funny. But there were people of all ages. Now, it did skew to a mostly older audience. I think we were the norm. Yeah. But
which made me feel weird.
Not a lot of young people there.
Made me feel weird.
But Lily was probably the youngest female, but there was one boy who was around 14 who was also there, and that was it. The rest was older people.
No.
Super wonderful time.
So
glad we
nice way of kind of bringing the summer to a close, doing those kinds of things, and it definitely feels like, okay, now we're switching gears. We got a wedding coming up, for our son Walter. We have, other things happening this fall that we're looking forward to telling you all about as time goes on. And then just, launching School of Mary. That's all our focus right now. So we're very excited by that. We have gotten some email. I'm glad you caught this one. It almost passed me by. Mm-hmm. A piece of feedback about Rosary Army. It actually, so when you donate to Rosary Army, we use a service called Donor Box. And there's a box for people to leave a comment. Not everyone does, but it's always nice when people do. During our giving campaigns, I see that more often because I'm sort of babysitting as things are coming in. I like to send thank you cards and that kind of thing to people who've donated, and during our giving campaigns. So I almost missed this one had you not caught it. And so Robin had sent a very nice note along with making a donation to Rosary Army. Can you read?
Yes.
You have your spectacles on,
put
Jennifer.
My
Can
spectacles. Here we go. All right. Dear Greg and Jennifer, thank you for all you do to help bring all of us to Jesus Christ, God our Father. I'm 70 years old and still struggling. Your podcast and guests you have on the show have been inspiring and educational. I am a cradle Catholic, but really didn't know very much about the Catholic Church. I've learned so much over the past 3 years of listening to your show and coming closer to our Mother Mary through praying the Rosary. Your explanations of the Catechism have been so valuable to me. I am looking forward to growing closer to our Lord and Blessed Mary through the School of Mary. Thank you for your help. You are truly walking with God. May God always bless you with the gift of sharing and educating people about his love for them and his church. Go, Rosary Army, go! In Christ, Miss Robin.
Thank you, Miss Robin. We
That
appreciate
was so
that.
sweet. I love that.
Very nice note. And just again, sometimes it's easy to get discouraged in the kind of work that we do. And every once in a while, just to see edification of someone here's someone 70 years old, still struggling to grow in the faith, and to know that in the last 3 years in particular, that the work hasn't been wasted. Really do appreciate hearing that. The fact that you're growing in your faith, your explanations of the Catechism, you saying that it's been valuable to you. Speaking of the Catechism, just this morning, was it because of this? Was it because of this that you brought up Catechism class?
I actually did not remember that she made a reference to that in her feedback.
So you were kind of funny this morning. We were actually getting ready to record another show, interview that we are going to share with you very shortly with Paul George. Fantastic conversation about growing in virtue, and a new guide that he's written called Holy Grit, which is a saintly guide to, I'm actually reading it right now, to becoming a man of virtue. But it's for men and women. Mm-hmm. The book is targeted at men, but the women are going to want to know this content to help the men in their lives to grow in virtue. But we were getting ready, literally we were like 20 minutes away from connecting with Paul for that call. You and I are having a cup of coffee, sitting downstairs before we started, and you were like, "Well, let's, I want to ask you this. I'm just bringing it up. I'm not asking for a response. It's just a minor thing. It's not a major thing, but And I'm going, what? Just
I've noticed.
Spit it out. What are you trying to ask me?
So about Catechism class podcast.
I'm like, you're bringing this up now?
Are we ever going to see it again? I mean, I'm just wondering. Whatever you say, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. What would you like? What would you like to happen?
So
tell me.
we recorded 70-something episodes of Catechism class. It's been almost a year now since we've recorded a new one. In that time, as we said, we've been working on School of Mary, built out a whole new video series for total consecration and other things. I do want to get back to it. I want to figure out ways of using School of Mary's platform to maximize the things that we're doing. Catechism class requires a considerable amount of prep because I have to do a lot of research. So every half-hour show, I normally have to put a few hours of just writing it into it, which I don't have to write, in Perfect Living. I don't have to write a lot of things we do. I really have to, because we're talking about our Catholic faith, and I have to make sure I'm getting it absolutely correct in what we're saying. But here's this learning platform that we've developed, and Catechism class is a learning platform, but it's audio. So there's a few different ideas I've had. We're going to get back to it. That's my intention. But how do we get back to it? There's been Father Mike Schmitz's Catechism in a Year is out there now, so he's reading through the Catechism, and he's giving his own level of commentary on it. But we were doing it a little bit differently. We're walking through the teachings and breaking it apart in a more in-depth way, I think. And people like Ms. Robin are getting a lot out of our discussions on it.
It really did find its own audience.
Yeah, it really did. And I don't want to lose that audience that we developed. So, do we need to make it video? Well, the only reason why video would be beneficial is if we actually spent the extra time and put like the Catechism quotes up on the screen. If I developed slides, if I did other, and then that's a whole new level of work. I don't have an assistant. If I had my script that I write and I had an assistant that I could say, now make me a bunch of slides that are going to be used, and then I have someone else edit the videos, well, then that would make a lot of sense. But if we're going to go, if the first part of the catechism took us 70 plus episodes to do, that's a lot of work. So I'm open to ideas. If you have feedback of like, what would you think about a video version, or are you fine with just the audio? What could make it more interesting? One of the ideas I had, not to say that we're going to do this, but we can do actual Zoom webinars and that kind of thing as a part of School of Mary. And I thought about, well, what if I presented the content live and actually had the opportunity at the end, if you're a member of School of Mary, and again, School of Mary is free to join and be a part of and to go through these classes, that at the end of this, School of Mary members could actually respond or ask questions and that kind of thing. That could open up a different can of worms. If someone asks a question that isn't appropriate and that kind of thing, then we'd have to edit certain things out. And maybe someone wants to ask a question, but they don't want their video question to be included in the final product and that kind of thing. So there's other things. And again, it would be great if we had a producer. And at some point, I think that this will happen. Someone who's actually helping pull these things together so we could focus on the presentation of things. So part of me is like, well, maybe we should just keep it simple as we've been doing it. Don't change it. But it just seems, it feels like a lost opportunity to not take advantage of what we're doing with School of Mary.
Well, I mean, you can always make a listing of the podcast on School of Mary so that they see that this podcast series exists, right? I mean, you can have it stored.
But that's just double posting. That's just extra steps to getting it out there in the first place. There would need to be a value added of some sort. So I don't know, we've been trying to build up the audience of our video version of Adventures in Imperfect Living, and it's been okay. But the other idea I had is, do we continue going through the catechism in the way that we do? So, because the second part of the catechism is about the sacraments. And so I feel like we could almost do a mini series of focusing on, each sacrament at a time. So we could do a series that really is based off of just baptism, for example, which is, it could be a part of catechism class. But the cool thing about what we have with School of Mary and this platform is that we can now build in quizzes. We can build in the opportunity for people to leave their own thoughts on different things, and we can incorporate that into other things. So we can actually make it interactive, that it's not just you watching. We could do a little bit of to help you to really learn this stuff, to actually do a quiz at the end just so you could test your own knowledge and that kind of thing. And I really like that idea, but it's just building the whole thing. And so I almost need to have, maybe what I need to do is I need to have the scripts done, and I could share the scripts out with people and have other people helping to build out the questions and that kind of thing. So it might just be simple like that. So I don't know.
And honestly, we knew that this year was just all about getting the website launched, and that School of Mary was going to dominate 2023. So it might realistically be 2024 before we can even think about. We just resuming catechism class. We just need to. This needs to be kind of as complete as it can be before we can go back to that other project. But just wanted to let you know that we have not forgotten about it, and I thank you for allowing me to bring it up gently over coffee this morning, because I realized that this could go one of two ways. It's either going to frustrate him or he's going to be renewed enthusiasm for it, because sometimes you just have to look for opportunities. Like, what does each situation present you as in terms of an opportunity to do something new? So
we had a few more topics that we were going to talk about, but I'm going to say we're going to push it because I haven't prayed my rosary yet today. Have you prayed your rosary?
I have not.
And since
I prayed my Angelus, but not my rosary.
Since that means that we have more talking to do personally in the form of praying a rosary, we will say goodbye for now, and we're going to go pray our rosary. What did you think I was going to say? Let's pray a live rosary?
Well, no. I mean, I wasn't expecting that. I don't want to throw that on the listener right now who may not be in a position or to pray a rosary. But I didn't know. I was ready to keep going with the show.
We've gone 45 minutes. We've been talking a lot today, and I've been traveling the last few days, and I'm tired. So that's all you're going to get from me. And other than the encouragement to pray your rosary every single day.
And do whatever it takes to be holy.
Go check out rosaryarmy.com and schoolofmary.com. Sign up for a free membership. Become a part of the community. We'll see you over there. We can actually keep talking over there. Go over to School of Mary. Talk about this episode. What you just heard just now. Talk soon.
Bye.